This whole chapter has podcasts from section 4.1 to 4.7 part A. This is 4.7 part B. So if you need to go back to these podcasts, please do so. Alright, so example 4. So how do you solve when there is an A equal to, when you have ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0, we divide by A. So divide by 2. Here we go. X squared plus 4x plus 7 equals 0. Now it looks like the last problem, doesn't it? All you have to do, complete the square. Find the c, complete the square. So how do you solve these? Basically the only thing is divide by A and then it's normal again. Go ahead, you finish the problem. The same as the last problem. Alright, here we go. So since the 7 is not the c, I'm going to get rid of it. X squared plus 4x equals negative 7. Notice I left the space so I can find the c, which is, what's the c? 4. So I'm going to add 4 here, which means I add 4 right here, which this becomes x plus 2 squared. You made it a square, equal to negative 3. I made it a square so I can square root it. Square root it. Right there you should know your answer is going to be an imaginary complex number, right? So if I square root this, I get x plus 2 equals, this becomes plus or minus, what is that? Yeah, if you're doing this, square root of negative 1, square root of 3 becomes I root 3. Okay? Now, you got one more step. Minus 2, x equals negative 2 plus or minus I root 3. Final answer. Any questions on that one? Good. Alright, be able to complete the square with an A other than 1. Alright, no big deal. Divide by A. Get rid of it. What if I gave you, instead of 8x, what if that was 9x? Is that going to change things? It's going to make things a little bit harder because you got fractions, but it doesn't matter. You can still solve. Here's the deal. You can always solve a quadratic by completing the square. Always. Can you always factor and solve? No, can't always factor, can you? But you can always do this. So if you understand this right here and you can't factor, you can try this all the time. Or what's the other one that you can use all the time? Quadratic formula. All the time. Always. I actually like this better than quadratic formula, but you can choose that later. Alright? Alright, so example 4. Solve when you have an A there. Let's see. Example 5. Here we go. They give you a rectangle, and they say the area of this rectangle is 72. That's the area of it. What is the value of x? We have to come up with a what? Equation. So, what is this equation going to be about?
The area of x. Area of the.
It's all about the area of a rectangle. So the first thing that I would think is, okay, how do you find area of a rectangle? A equals length times width, right? A equals length times width. Then I ask myself a question. Do they give me the A? Do they give me the area? Yeah, it is 72. They give me the length.
3x.
Yeah, they give me the length. It's right here, 3x. They give me the width. Yes. X plus 2. Doesn't matter which order I put those in. Could you have said this, then this? Yes, same thing. Alright, all you have to do now is do a little bit of work to solve. I'll just say this. Actually, let's start us off. How do you do something like this? You can't do 3x equals, I get people to do this, 3x equals 72 and x plus 2 equals 72. What are you doing there that you shouldn't? Where did we use that kind of, but it's not the same?
Oh, the
Zero product property. Oh, you can only do that if this was equal to 0. If it's equal to 72, you can't say this equals 72, this equals 72. I get that sometimes. Just making sure you don't do that. Alright, so what are you going to do? You're going to multiply here. 3x squared plus 6x equals 72. Now, there's a couple methods you could use, but let's use complete the square because that's what we're doing. What would you do first? Okay, there's a 3x squared here. Get rid of 3. You finished the problem. Go. Alright, so here's our equation. 3x squared plus 6x equals 72. So what we want to do here is, if we want to complete the square, what we want to do is get rid of the a. So a is 3, so divide by 3. So I get x squared plus 2x equals 24. Now since we're completing the square, we want to find the c that makes it a square. So this is plus 1 here. If I add 1 to this side, I got to add 1 to this side. Therefore, next, this is now a square. X plus 1 squared equals 25. Why do I complete the square? So that I can square root it. So I'm going to square root this, and the square cancels. X plus 1 is equal to square root this plus or minus 5. Last step, minus 1, x equals negative 1 plus or minus 5. But you can do this. So negative 1 plus 5 is 4. Negative 1 minus 5 is negative 6. Here's our two answers for the problem. But the rectangle was 3x and x plus 2. If you put in negative 6 right here, that would be negative 18 length. Can't have that. So we have to get rid of this solution. The only solution we actually have is x equals 4. So you put 4 in there, that's 12. Put 4 in here, that's 6. If I ask you for dimensions, the dimensions of this rectangle is 12 by 6 or 6 by 12. Okay, so that finishes up this problem here. Alright, example 6. So we're going to write this in vertex form, which looks like, we're going to take this and make it look like this. What do you notice in here? What do we have to make in here? There's a squared in here. A binomial squared. So we're going to take this and we're going to complete the square on it. Only it's going to be a little bit different than the equations part we just did before. So people mix these two ideas up. Alright, here we go. Don't let that be you. So first thing, y equals x squared minus 10x. I'm going to leave a space here, and then I'm going to write 22. Did I move 22? No, I just kind of pushed it out of the way a little bit. That's step number 1. Step number 2, you can probably guess. What is it? Find the c that completes the square. So what is it? So we're going to add 25 right here. Now, here's the thing that's a little bit different. Since we did that, we always got to keep an equation even. What should we do now? Okay, you say add 25 over on this side of the equation. I wouldn't disagree. Yeah, you could definitely do that. I'm going to do something a little bit different. Instead of adding 25 to this side and then balancing it out, what could I do? If I add 25 to one side, Jim? Subtract 25 from the from the same side. I'm going to subtract 25 from right here. How much did I add to the right side?
0.
Nothing. See how it balances it out? I added 25, which threw off the balance, and then I subtracted 25 from the same side, threw it back into balance. Okay?
It's not the exact same thing as your first equation, though.
As what?
Your first equation.
It is. It actually is the same thing as the first equation, which is what we want. Only now it looks different. We want this look because now, what do we have?
Square.
If you just look at the first three things, we have a perfect square. Okay? What is it? X minus 5 squared. Now look what's left over. Plus 22 minus 25 make negative 3 equals y. You just put this thing in vertex form. What's the vertex? 5 comma negative 3 is your vertex. Why would this be helpful, knowing this method right here? In finding what?
Vertex.
True, vertex, which I'm trying to get you to think a little bit deeper in finding the maximum or minimum. If I said, hey, find the maximum of that first thing up there, you could just say, okay, if I put this in vertex form, boom, which is actually pretty easy if you keep doing it a few times. And it's like, oh, the maximum is, in this case, what? Or is this a minimum? Minimum is negative 3. Negative 3. Just the y value, remember. If I say, what's the minimum? You say negative 3. All right? Just the y. All right. There you go. So that's how you do this. Let's give you one to try by yourself. And then we'll get to the hard one. This one's not bad. It's a little bit new, but the next one, like this one, actually, I don't want to go there yet. Let's go back to, let me put that. We're going to go that one next. Let's do this one together, or you do it. I can make up anything here. Let's see. Y equals x squared minus, I'll keep it easy, 22x plus 131. There. Yeah, put this in vertex form. Remember those directions. Put this in vertex form. Alright. First thing, I would split these. I would put a space here just to kind of give me some space to work with. Minus 22x space plus 131. Didn't move 131, just kind of moved it out of the way. What is the C here? Plus 121. So now you have a choice. You could, since you added 121, you could put plus 121 over here. But in the end, then you'd have to subtract it, right? So I'm just going to do it all on one side. Plus 121 minus 121. So you added, you subtracted, you balanced it out again. Therefore, these first three things are a perfect square. X minus what? 11 squared. And then this becomes, these next two, plus 10 equals y. Look how quick that was. What is the minimum? Quicker than typing in a calculator, I guarantee you. Okay? Don't rely on the calculator. Alright? Let it help you, but don't rely. So your vertex is 11, 10, which means 10 is your minimum right there. Done. Let's get to the hard one, which isn't too bad. But people are very confused on this problem. Where is it? Alright.
So even when you're asking for a maximum, you give y?
Max or min. If I say, what's the max? You only give me a y value. You don't give me the whole vertex. I take off points, and I'm still taking enough points as you check your tests. Because I said, only give me the y. Just one. Okay, here we go. Put this in vertex form. Once again, vertex form. What's different about this one? Has an a not equal to 1. Now, pay attention to this one very closely. This will be the hardest one in this section, maybe the chapter. If it's not, it's close to it. Here we go. There's a few steps to this one. What's your idea? Anybody got any ideas on what to do first? Sam?
Factor out 2 first.
Okay, now here's the two answers I get. Some people say factor, some people say divide. People say divide because we did that with the equation equal to 0. You see how you can kind of just twist things, okay? Some people say, let's divide by 2. If you did, you'd have y divided by 2. You don't want that. So what do? What's the word? Factor. So that's part 1. We factor out what? In this case 2, but in general, factor out the a. Now here's the other tricky part. Only out of, so here's the key. Only out of the first 2 terms. Yeah, it's different. This is different logic than you're used to. So please pay attention. Watch what I do. Y equals, you said factor out 2, I agree. Pull out a 2, parenthesis. but only factor it out of the first two terms. Watch. 2 times x squared gives me 2x squared. Minus what? 8x. Now, I'm stopping there. I'm going to end the parenthesis, but I'm going to leave a space. End the parenthesis. This times this gives you this, correct? I still have plus 24. Isn't this the same as up above? Is it not? Right? Right now it's the same. What could I do to this right here? I could, step 2, complete the square. Right here. What is it? So we're going to add 16 right here. And good job, Jenny. Here's the tricky part. Here's the tricky part. You think, people automatically think, okay, I added 16, so I'm going to subtract 16. Let me tell you this. You didn't add 16.
Oh, we added 32.
Do you see it? Do you see it? You need to get this. You need to understand this. And if you don't understand this part right here, the rest of the part, you won't be able to do these problems. You didn't add 16. Because it's in parentheses, you really added this times 16. So really, technically, you added 32 to this side. You didn't add 16. Which means you have to counteract that. Which means you have to subtract 32 here. If you don't catch that, if you don't understand what I just did, you're done with that problem. There's 5 to 10 points on the quiz or test. Okay? I'm going to give you one of these. Guaranteed. Okay? Now, catch this. Underline things. Tell yourself things. Complete the square. So I added 32, which means I subtracted 32. Let's finish it. It should be done now. Y equals 2 out front. This becomes a square. What is it? X minus 4 squared. And then plus 24 minus 32 minus 8. This is the final answer unless I say, which I do say, identify the vertex, which is 4, negative 8. If I said what is the minimum, you would say negative 8. Please understand this problem. I plead with you. Please. Okay? Now, let's do one. I'll make up another one here. Just know the steps. Factor out A out of the first two things. 2, complete the square. And then step 3, what can we say? Add or subtract the opposite on the same. I never made up fully formed steps, so it's kind of like I'm doing this as I go. So, what can we say? Square C.
Y equals 4x squared minus 32x plus 48.
Add, subtract. A. Okay, add or subtract A times C, right? A times the C, right? Add or subtract the A times the C. Whatever you need to do, you have to decide. Should I add or subtract that? It all depends on if it's a positive or negative number. Okay? There's my steps. Just made them up. Oh. Somebody clean that desk. Here we go. 1, 2, 3 steps. You try one on your own.
Did you write on number 4?
I just put add or subtract A times C. So whatever A, nobody thinks about the A. Everybody just thinks, oh, 16 minus 16. Don't think like that. It's the A times the C. Okay. Try one of your own. Now, once again, I can make anything up here. It's all going to work out. Y equals, let me put negative 3x squared. I'm going to put minus 9x plus, I don't know, 31. There you go. Just made up. Put this in vertex form. Now I'm going to tell you this. You're going to get some fractions. But just like before, use your calculator. Add them up in the calculator. I don't want any decimals for these problems. Only fraction answers. Alright, so pull out the negative 3. Only out of the first two, right? X squared, what's next? What's here? Yeah, it's a plus. Did anybody put a minus? That's a common mistake right there. Plus 3x. Why? Because negative 3 times this gives you this. Negative 3 times a positive 3 gives you negative 9. Leave a space. Then we still got plus 31. There's step 1. Pull 8 out of the first two terms. Step 2, complete the square. What is the C here? Plus 9/4. Now, since it's fractions, it's going to take a little bit of time maybe. But it's the same process. Since you added 9/4 here, which you really didn't, what did you really add?
27.
You added A times C, which means you added negative 27/4. Which means you're going to do what right here? You have to do the opposite, right? So here's how much you added. Negative 27/4. What would get rid of it? Plus 27/4. You catch that now? You added negative 27, so you got to add a positive 27/4 to cancel it. You understand that? Okay? Some people caught that. Okay? Some people didn't. That's okay. Make your mistakes now so later you don't. Okay. That's why you write little notes to yourself, like you write work all around here. You try to do this stuff in your head, you lose stuff like that. It's gone. Alright? Write little stuff like this. Now, even change colors if you have to. Now, what do you got here? Y equals negative 3. This is a square. X plus 3/2 squared. You just type this in your calculator. 31 plus 27/4. What do you get? Tornica, what do you got? 151/4. Can everybody confirm? Okay.
Yes.
There you go. How many people did get that answer in the beginning? In the beginning, how many people got that answer? A few. Do you all know? So you all made this mistake. You probably subtracted 27/4. That's my guess. But hopefully now you understand what to do. You got one more shot at this. Okay? One more shot.
Can we do a non-fraction?
Non-fraction. This one isn't fractions. Same, but look at the question though. It's a different. The question doesn't say put this in vertex form. But why would we?
Because it's find the maximum.
Find the maximum height. So in my mind, find the max, meaning find the vertex, which means put this in vertex form. So go ahead, take this and do the same thing you did. Let's see what you come up with. Hopefully there's more hands this time. Here we go. Let's check it out. So pull out the negative 16. You got t squared minus what? 6t. Leave a space. You still got plus 3 on the end. Only pull a out of the first two. Remember that. Next, what is the c that makes a square? Plus 9 here. You don't minus 9 here. Don't get in that habit. You really do. You added negative 16 times 9, which means you really added a negative what? 144, which means you have to do the opposite here. You add a positive 144. That's the key right there. Key. Final answer. Negative 16t minus 3 squared plus 147. But actually, that's not the final answer. What is the maximum height of the baseball? 147 feet. How many people got that answer? Please don't lie to me. Okay. Good job. All right.